This is the Crowdcrux Crowdfunding Podcast with Sal Briggman, where we cover everything you need to know to launch a successful crowdfunding campaign. We speak with proven entrepreneurs who've raised money from the crowd and want to teach you how to do the same. Stay tuned because we're about to reveal how to launch your dream project with your host, Sal Briggman.
Before we get started with this podcast episode, I want to take a second to introduce you to my friends at Fulfillrite. If you need help shipping out your Kickstarter or Indiegogo perks or rewards, Fulfillrite is the absolute best company for you. I've been working with them for a while and I can vouch for their services. They make it dead simple and take all of the headache out of shipping out all of those boxes, all of those orders to your backers and your customers. If you want to check them out, go to fulfillrite.com at fulfillrite.com. Hey, how's it going? My name is Salvador Briggman, and you are listening to the Crowdfunding Demystified podcast. On this show, I break down and I get into the best practices when it comes to crowdfunding and raising money on websites like Kickstarter, Indiegogo, also equity crowdfunding campaigns, Start Engine, WeFunder. Really, it could be any kind of raising money under the sun, even if it's for like a nonprofit project on CauseVox, GoFundMe. We cover it all on this show. Number one, I put a preference on trying to deliver techniques that have not been really aired the light of day, cutting edge crowdfunding strategies, and in addition, introducing you to new entrepreneurs and their success stories to give you a little bit of inspiration and motivation. You know, I'm not a motivational speaker, but hopefully you can draw seeing some of these real world entrepreneurs raising money on Kickstarter or with crowdfunding. You can then come away and say, yes, I can also do that too. And today, what I wanted to introduce you to is a whole new way of marketing. This is the cutting edge. This is the next thing that's happening, and it is messenger bots. What is a messenger bot? How would you even incorporate a messenger bot into your crowdfunding campaign? How do you make one of these things? What do they do for you? Why are they important? Today, what I want to do is I want to compare email marketing versus messenger bots. Email marketing, the traditional way of building an email list of people, launching a project, comparing that to messenger bots. And I brought on an expert, Eli Regalado from the Mad Hatter Agency. He's going to come on, he's going to share with you real world numbers, how he was able to raise over 6 figures for a project and the results that he got from using a messenger bot for this particular crowdfunding campaign. So you're going to learn about that today, but before we get into that, I really want to quickly mention, if you're interested in a free course that basically goes through how to start your own podcast, this has been a labor of love for me since 2015. I started this show. We now have over 200 episodes, done more than 100,000 downloads with this podcast. I want to share for other people out there how to do this. If you want to start your own podcast, if you want your voice heard, if you want to sound better, you go back into my early archives. I sound so monotone and meek and unsure of myself, and I've really grown into this podcasting medium. What I'm going to share with you with this free course is some of the strategies and techniques when it comes to podcasting, the secret to a podcasting voice, a voice that commands attention, that people want to listen to, and that's authentic and friendly. And in addition, some of the low budget growth strategies that are out there. So if you are interested in how to start, grow, and monetize your own podcast, whether it's something entertainment related, like a politics show or a show about gaming, a show about whatever you're interested in, or more of an educational podcast, the one like mine where you're interviewing guests and digesting information and teaching people things and sort of bringing them to new ways of understanding. You can start a podcast, and there's a podcast out there for anyone. So this link today is going to link you to this free course that I will walk you through some of these concepts with, and that link is crowdcrux.com/free podcasting course. That is crowdcrux.com/free podcasting course. Just enter that URL, crowdcrux.com/free podcasting course into your browser. It will take you to a page, enter your name and email, and I will start getting you up to date on some of these different techniques that I am talking about. First of all, I appreciate you so much. I think you're going to like today's episode a lot. And in addition, if you are at all interested in working with Mad Hatter, I am giving a free offer, which I will mention at the end of the podcast. So make sure you stick around. Without further ado, let's get into today's podcast episode. Eli, welcome to the show.
Hey, thanks for having me, Sal.
So I guess I'd like to start off here by just kind of getting into the story of this project that you helped. Maybe you can just give a bite-sized context of what this project was and what your strategy was from a broad level with this campaign.
Yeah, absolutely. So the product is called Pack'em, and the simplest way of putting it is it's a small, portable, travel-sized little vacuum packer that you can bring with you on trips. So a lot of people are familiar with, vacuum compressed bags. Like you hook your vacuum up to it, you can suck big comforters down and stick them in your closet and whatnot. But what these guys are is they're like a little handheld device that's smaller than an iPhone, and so when you're traveling, you can basically unpack your Ziploc bags that have all the air sucked out of them, but then be able to repack them with this little mini vacuum. And so our whole goal was to get these people over $100,000 in the fastest way possible, and considering that it's a product that it's not several $100s, so we needed a lot of sales in order to get that. So our goal was just get them there as fast as possible.
And how did these guys find you or hook up with Matt Hatter?
Yeah, so these guys actually came through. They heard about me on the last podcast I did with you, which is funny. So they came through from there, and they said, "Hey, listened to what you guys did over on the Sal's podcast, and we wanted to kind of talk to you about doing something with us." And I said, "Okay, great."
So they had a pretty, I think, reasonable goal for $30K. Now they're looking at 147,000, a little bit over that. 10 days to go, 2,600 backers, and I think that this is it's a pretty good feat for anyone. Honestly, that's a lot of backers. I'd love if you could talk a little bit about why it is you chose to use Facebook Messenger over email as like the lead generation, or did you do both of them for this project?
Yeah, so we actually did both, and when we first started hearing about Facebook Messenger, just so if you're listening, you're wondering what Facebook Messenger is. So when you go on Facebook and you message somebody on Facebook, that's Facebook Messenger. So there's a way that you can actually kind of have like little mini email campaigns that go through that messenger, much like you use MailChimp or GetResponse, that type of thing. And the service that we use is called MiniChat. And what had happened was I went to a MiniChat conference a few months ago in Austin, Texas, and just heard some really amazing case studies of all these people that were using this, mostly in like e-commerce and lead generation environments. And I was like, wow, I wonder if we could just use this for a crowdfunding campaign, because when you do a crowdfunding campaign, it's all about lead gen, right? So it's lead generation, typically for weeks, if not months ahead of time. And then you flip that switch and you tell all those leads, okay, hey, now we're live, come buy this product. Mm-hmm. So we decided to put this in there and take the effort to actually develop one of these because of the open rates. So I'll give you an example. So a typical email campaign is going to have around a 20% open rate, and they're going to have anywhere between a 1 to a 3% click-through rate. On a messenger bot, the average, and this is like internationally across all these different industries, the average open rate is 80%.
That's a lot. Wow.
It's crazy. And half of which open within the first 10 seconds. And it gets better. The click-through rate average is 30%. So the point I'm making here is a person with a messenger subscriber list of 1,000 subscribers can do far better than a person with an email list of 10,000.
Why is that? Why is there that big difference there?
Well, it's the open rates, right? Because let's just say you got 10,000 people and you get 20% to open, okay, so let's just say 2,000 people, and then you're only getting 1 to 3% of those people to click. That's not a lot of people for that list, right?
Yeah. So it's almost like you're working smarter, it seems.
Exactly. So on a messenger bot list, we only had like 1,000 subscribers on that. We had 1,000 emails too, but we had 1,000 messenger subscribers. And so we got 1,000 messenger subscribers. When we launched, we had a 90% open rate. So that's 900 people that came in and opened right off the very first broadcast.
That's such a difference though. Like, why is it that messenger bots are opened at such a higher rate than emails?
Well, it's kind of like email in its early days, right? So when you first got an email, you remember the days, it's like, you've got mail, right? And everyone's like, ooh, someone mailed me, right?
Yeah.
That same level of
I might be a
excitement.
little too young for that reference.
Okay. Well, I think I was like maybe, I don't know, junior high, maybe a little younger. But yeah, I can remember, my dad firing up the computer and, hearing you've got mail, right? And it's kind of like you're just reading, and it's all it was. It was messages from friends, right? And that's where Messenger's at right now, is it's messages from friends. So when you do get a message, you open it because you're assuming it's one of your friends, right? So we're in this golden age right now for people to use this technology and really cover a lot of ground. Now, I doubt this is going to be the same case 2 years from now, because more and more marketers are going to start using it. More and more people are going to start spamming and misusing it, and it's all going to go to put. But right now, for those people listening in the crowdfunding environment especially, this is literally your answer to spending less and making more with your Facebook ad spend.
It's that classic quote from Seth Godin that marketers ruin everything. The more it's used, the more marketers that are using it, the more people tend to tune out from that.
Absolutely.
And just because it's something new, it's almost like they're just not used to screening for that. And you can kind of slip in there, get your foot in the door, and have a communication with someone. I want to get into like some of the results that you created, but before I do, I just want to get a sense of like what actually can you create with a messenger bot. So like, is it an autoresponder sequence? Is it like question reply? Like, how smart are these things?
They're as smart as you make them, right? So here's typically how they're used. So when I come in, here's how we use ours, right? So if people come into a thank you page, we have them opt in via email, because we've tested this a bunch of different ways, but we found that as long as they can physically type in their email first, there's a better chance of them converting on the back end. Now, you can send them straight from an ad directly into the messenger bot, and once they interact that first time, they now become a subscriber. But the problem with that is there's no barrier to entry, and those are really poor quality leads. It's kind of like Facebook lead ads, right? So you can get a lot cheaper, but they're not as good quality. So we still have that email gate on the front, and then once they get in there, our whole goal was to just educate them about the product, and we did that with tiny little messages. So like an email, you might send out a paragraph or two with some images, right? With Messenger, we send out like a sentence or two and a picture, and then a click like a OK or show me more or next. So they're constantly engaging with this thing, and every time they're clicking to continue, you're giving, it's a little micro commitment in their mind, right? They're learning more, they're learning more, they're learning more. And then what this allows you to do from a data perspective is it allows you to look at that story that you're telling and then see what the click-through rate is on that button. So if you have a part in that story where all of a sudden you're getting like a 90-some% click-through rate all the way throughout, and then this one area you're getting like a 17%, you need to rephrase that statement.
So is there like an end to that? Could I just keep clicking like more, show me more, and that entire sequence gets played out there? Like,
Yep.
Is that, and that's just kind of similar to what I would have as like an autoresponder sequence for email, except it's more bite-sized.
Exactly. So it's bite-sized. You can move through it a lot faster and at your own pace. And then what you can do is you can put in smart follow-up sequences. So let's just say that you and I both go into the autoresponder, right? And you go in and you click halfway through it, and I click all the way through it. The bot is going to know that I only went to step 3 out of 10. And it'll follow up with me whenever you want. So you can make it a day, 2 days later, whatever, and say, hey, did you know that this can also do this? And you can say, click no, right? And then it'll take you right back to that sequence where you left off.
Interesting. So it's kind of like you're using, number one, the email gate as a way to get people to do a little bit of work just to show that they're invested in it. And then the people that are subscribed to the messenger bot are the same people on your email list, only you just have another sort of way of reaching them and reaching those people that are on the email list.
Exactly. And it's a lot more personal.
Okay, let me ask you a question here too. When it comes to like creating urgency and doing a launch, I think there's a lot to be said for getting people in the right emotional state, ready to take action. If someone's going through this autoresponder like at their own sequence, they might end up getting really excited about the project, but this is like, weeks before you go live. How do you prevent that from happening? Like, can you send out a blast to these people?
Yep, exactly. So you can have your nurturing sequences in the meantime, right? So you basically have think of like your first can of information. You want these people to know these things, and so what we wanted people to know was what it is, how it works, what it can be used for, and that there are other solutions on the market, but they're not as good. So we cover all those in that initial sequence. Okay. And then after that, we just kind of drip content on them like, hey, it can also do this and it can also do that. And then we say, hey, we even had a contest that said, this is what's really cool. We said, do you want to win one of these for free? And people say yes, right? And they just click yes and say, great. All you have to do is go to this Facebook post, tag some of your friends, and tell us in the comments why you're excited about this product. And so we got, a few hundred comments or whatever. And then what we did is when we started doing our next round of Facebook ads, we took that post ID and used that as the ad. So now that ad that we're showing to cold traffic now has several hundred comments of people tagging friends and saying how they would use this.
So it has that social proof already.
Exactly. So we basically just preloaded the social proof, which allowed our ad costs to drop substantially and gave this thing a lot more cachet. And I'm not saying that it doesn't have that already, but it's just a smart way of front loading that without having to spend thousands of dollars getting that same result.
I had to interrupt this podcast episode because I want to introduce you to my friends at The Gadget Flow. Their product discovery platform reaches 22 million people per month. They've helped more than 5,000 crowdfunding campaigns thus far, and they have a social media following of more than 700,000 followers. If you want to gain access to their marketplace and list your own product, you can go to thegadgetflow.com/submit and list your project today. Very interesting. Very interesting. When you're sending these those autoresponder sequences, can you do stuff like do you embed photos and videos and like that, those kinds of mediums, or is it just kind of like text?
Both. Yes, you can do GIFs, photos, and videos. They can't exceed 25 megabytes, so it's a pretty small one, right? So a lot of and that was a big learning curve for us because we want to slam in a 90-second video in this thing, right? But what we found is we had to take that video and cut it into little bite-sized pieces, and then instead of just stacking them, there was a time where we just kind of put video 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, right? But no one was watching them. Right. So they want to watch one little piece and then they have to hit a button to continue, like show me more, show me more, show me more. But what that did is that worked in our favor because it allowed us to also segment that list and we can see who are the best backers and who are the ones that are really biting on this and kind of see how effective our marketing is.
Okay, so there are a lot of different things I want to explore here. So one question I had just to unpack this, for someone who's never done Facebook ads, it's like Eli's talking about post IDs and like using that for an ad. So basically, the way that Facebook works, is this correct? Where if you have a Facebook post that's gotten a lot of engagement, you can then create an ad off of that post and target any audience, or is it just for like a boosted post? Can you just talk a little bit about what that is?
Yeah, absolutely. So Facebook allows you to basically create ads out of whatever you want: images, videos, plain text, etc. Right? And so here's the traditional model. So most people are familiar with this. When they want to do an ad, they go in there, they load up their creative, so their images or whatever. They fill out their headline and their text, and they say, show it to this audience. Okay? And they'll get, let's just say they do 10 ads. And they'll get this ad that has 1 like, this ad that has 0 likes, this one that has 5, and everything else in between, right? Well, a smarter way of doing that is you can go in there and you can do that first so you can kind of see what creative is working best. And then you can turn that into a Facebook page post. So just go into your Facebook page and just make a post, okay? And then you do another ad, and you can say, okay, optimize this, use the existing post ID. It's in your ads manager. And if you just type in on Google existing post ID Facebook ad, there's like a million tutorials out there. And all you do is you just copy and paste those last numbers on the top of your address bar into your page post ID on Facebook, and it'll pull that post in and use that as your ad.
Okay, so that's really cool because I think also when you're doing an ad, the hardest part is to get any kind of social proof on that ad. And the more people that are engaging with it in general, the better it's going to do from terms of lowering your cost per acquisition, lowering your cost per click, your views, all that stuff. So that can be really powerful. We have a video we made with Eli that goes through how to create a very basic Facebook ad. So if you've never done that before, I can link to that in the show notes for this episode on CrowdCrux. And that goes through your screen tutorial, basically, of you creating an ad, I believe, for like one of your clients, right?
Yep, exactly.
Okay. So this is kind of your strategy, I guess, is number one, creating the email lists. Number two, using Facebook Messenger to upgrade your open rates to continue to get people warmed up and excited. What kind of impact did this new strategy have on the actual Kickstarter campaign?
Yeah, well, I mean, before, when you're trying to do a six-figure campaign, which is really all we specialize in, so six figures or higher, there's a lot of risk, right? Because you could have a list of 10,000 people, and then all of a sudden you do that blast. And guess what? When you're on a MailChimp or GetResponse or whatever, you're also on a shared server, right? So you could have somebody on that same server, a business you've never met on that same server, and they could just buy a list and spam a bunch of people, and now your delivery rates just go to crap. So you could be getting 20 to 30% open rates your entire pre-launch, and then you go do that initial blast, and we've seen it drop down to like 5%, which can cripple a launch, right? So we wanted to kind of take as much risk as humanly possible out of the launch. And so we said, okay, we're going to do both, right? So we're going to get the emails, and then we're also going to do the messenger. And we thought the messenger is like, hey, as long as we can get like an 80%, that'd be success, right? When we got a 90% open rate, I mean, everything changed. I mean, to the point where every single one of our clients now has a bot.
Yeah.
I mean, everyone across the board. And all I had to show them was I say, listen, I can get you a 90%, I can get you an 80% or higher open rate and a 30% or higher click-through rate. Well, why wouldn't you do this? And so everyone's like, yep. I mean, the numbers speak for themselves.
Okay, so you got a really good open rate there. Do people ever feel concerned about having too many like messages bombarding that list?
Yeah, so this is the sacred cow, right? So this is going to be, it's like people, right? You're your number one asset and your number one liability. Don't overdo it. Okay. So what you want to use this for, this is your sacred ground. So you want to get people in. Okay. And you never want to message them more than once a week once they're in there. And if you do message them, it's got to be high value, super cool, super fun content.
Okay. So they don't see you basically and flag you as like, this guy is just promoting his stuff or this guy is just another marketer.
Exactly, because if you're sitting there and you're just pounding away at them, I mean, we'll send like one, maybe two broadcasts during the pre-launch, and then we're going to use email, right? But what we will do also is we can also do brand awareness ads. So they'll see like an ad on Facebook, they'll get an email, they might get one or two broadcasts during the pre-launch leading up to it, but we're pretty conservative with those because, again, we want to make sure that initial email, that initial broadcast, on launch day has the highest open rate possible.
Okay, so basically you're doing one or two of these messenger broadcasts before launch. You've already outlined in another blog post, which I'll also link to, the step-by-step strategy that you have for your email marketing campaign, so we don't have to cover that now. When it comes to this actual launch here, like I know you got awesome open rates and look like you got pretty good click-through rates. Do you have any like data on how much funding that gave to the campaign or what that made up for the campaign funding?
Yeah, it was like over 80% of it as far as what came in through the bots. Because again, the email subscriber list and the bot subscriber list are the same. But the emails that we were sending out had like a 20-some% open rate. The bots, however, every single broadcast was over 90%. So like the first one was 96%, the second one was 95%, and then the launch day the launch day bot broadcast was 90%.
Okay. So that was basically your goal was 30K with this project. So you brought in about 30K, a little bit more than that within the first week there, it looks like.
Yeah, yep, exactly. So I think it was we hit our goal within the first 3 days. And that's critical too. So when you guys are planning your campaigns and whatnot, so if you need $100,000, kind of put that goal, as close to what you need as humanly possible, right? I mean, these guys didn't need a whole lot of money because they had a lot of it developed, and so they only needed like another like $30,000 to get it there. Their goal was over 100, right?
Mm-hmm.
So we were able to just say, hey, let's set that goal as what your bare minimum is and hit that right away. Because when Kickstarter sees a flood of backers come in within a certain period of a short period of time, and they see you hit your goal within the first few days, that gives your project a lot more validity, and Kickstarter will promote it in their feed, they'll promote it in Projects We Love, they'll promote it on their homepage, all that good stuff. But if it takes you 4 weeks to get up to your goal, that's like the worst thing you can do.
Yeah, I think within the second week, you almost got to like around the 100K mark as well. So that strategy, I think, is to, number one, engineer success, making sure you have as low goal as possible so you can exceed it. And then also, same thing with the Facebook ads, you want to have some kind of social proof with the campaign. So when people are coming to this, they're discovering it on your different social media networks, or they're even just checking it out again. Maybe they checked it out the first day, they didn't want to back it. They can come back and they can see all of that validation. That's a very powerful, in my opinion, social proof for the project.
Yeah, absolutely. And here's one other tip too for your Facebook ads, because what we had been doing is just right when the campaign goes live, we just have ad and then go directly to Kickstarter, right? What we found that works better is you go ad to landing page, get them to fill out their email, to thank you page, and the thank you page says, hey, get it for 30% off, limited quantities, click now. And they click there, and then they go to the Kickstarter page, because now that you have that email, now it gives you another opportunity to market to them via email as opposed to just remarketing on Facebook.
Wait, so instead of sending people to the live Kickstarter campaign, you're sending them to the email capture? I'm speaking to the crowdfunders in the audience who have already launched a Kickstarter campaign, or have actually even successfully run a campaign. And the reason is, I think you will understand this pain point most. And that is, when you finally do raise money on Kickstarter or Indiegogo, the hardest part is not collecting the cash. The hardest part is shipping out all of those perks and rewards to your backers. It is a nightmare, my friends. It's a lot of spreadsheets, it's a lot of headache, and it's a lot of stress. That's why I recommend BackerKit. If you have not heard of BackerKit, they help you collect surveys, they help you collect data, and the entire fulfillment process is just so much easier and so many less spreadsheets when you use their software. You can check them out at backerkit.com and use CrowdCrux for a special discount. First,
and then on the thank you page, we have a direct link to get the product at blank % off. I think in this case it was 30% off. Mm-hmm. And then we send them to Kickstarter. So we just add in one step in there. But what that does is it also qualifies that person. So they're like, ooh, this sounds interesting. They give us their email. So they've already given us a commitment. And then, boom, we send them directly to the Kickstarter campaign page and say, hey, now you can get this thing for a limited time at 30% off. And they go through and they buy it.
Interesting. I've actually never seen that done before. Most campaigns are, it seems like, directly kind of going right to the page, to the Kickstarter campaign there.
Yep. Yeah, exactly. But here's the thing. So it's like, because we know that we're going to spend between like $1 to $1.50 per lead. And then on average, it takes 4 impressions with your brand before someone buys anything online, which is why, you have those little creepy ads that follow you around everywhere after you look at a pair of shoes.
Yeah.
So
definitely.
What we're trying to do and what we've done is just engineered success that we can say, okay, let's make every single dollar count. And we know that we can get people to sign up for this via email. Right? So we already know that. We already know what ads work best. And we've already got all the social proof for that ad, right? So let's just keep driving them to the landing page. But on the thank you page, instead of taking them to the bot, we just take them directly to the Kickstarter campaign page.
Okay, interesting. So it seems like a lot of the work that you do seems to be centered around Facebook ads. When you're creating like a Facebook ad, do you have existing data that you're creating like lookalike audiences off of? Or is this like unique, you're just kind of doing this for each campaign? Or do you have like, a group of, people in the past that have backed these projects and you're kind of creating like, a lookalike from that?
Both, right? So what we'll do is we've done, hundreds of campaigns. So what we can do is we can say, we'll never like send out an email blast to somebody else's list. because one, it's unethical, and two, it's illegal. But what we can do is we can say, okay, here's people that have backed other campaigns, and here's people that have signed up on an email list for other campaigns. And what we'll do is we'll just create a lookalike audience off of that, and that kind of gives us kind of like a ground zero to start with. Mm-hmm. And then we just use that as one of the audiences that we're going to test going into it.
Interesting. Yeah, these are a lot of interesting, like, new techniques, I think, that kind of aren't really being applied yet, because Facebook Messenger is still really in its infancy when it comes to the bots, I think, especially with Kickstarter campaigns. I haven't been seeing it very much on different projects. It's still, I think, kind of bread and butter email. Why do you think that is, that it's more people aren't using this?
Well, there's a risk element to it, right? And so, I mean, there was a risk element with us, and so we didn't lead with this either. We had tested this out with some e-com clients first, just to kind of see, if driving them to a messenger instead of an email to get a sale, and we didn't have a whole lot of success with that. So we've always found that, when someone actually takes the time to type in their information, they're more of a high quality prospect than not. Okay. And email is not going away. It's still the tried and true method of, 99% of businesses, and Facebook could change their mind tomorrow. So I would always recommend, don't just build a bot list, build both, like I showed you. Because, there's always that risk, right?
You never want to be dependent entirely on Facebook, because you never know what they're doing.
Exactly. But I mean, it's bots are still a new thing, right? I mean, I went to this mini chat conference. I would say that, probably 80% of the people there, they knew what a bot was, but they weren't really using them. They were there to learn more, right? So you'll start seeing these kind of come on the line more and more, especially after this. I'm sure there's everyone out there is going to start doing it now, which is great. Just, like I said, don't spam them. Keep it to, at the most one broadcast a week. And, just make it fun, too, because we'll always have one or two lines of text and then a picture or a video and then a button that says continue or show me or, no, I don't want to learn more. And then we classify those people differently.
Okay, cool. I think we covered this subject pretty good. I just had one or two questions I want to get your thoughts on in terms of the future of crowdfunding and also techniques that you're seeing applied that maybe other people aren't. What are your thoughts on text to give or using text message marketing? Do you think that's ever going to be used with crowdfunding campaigns?
Yeah, yes and no. I mean, I if you would have asked me a couple years ago, I would have said yes. But there's a lot of people that are kind of just tuning out from that whole, the whole texting thing. And a lot of people have either done a texting campaign in the past. I went to a concert a few years ago and I said, hey, text blah, 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 blah to enter to win. And then I kept getting those damn text messages. And then so it kind of really put a sour taste in my mouth. And there was no easy way to kind of opt out. Mm-hmm. Right. So if I were a betting man, I would say no. I think you might see some marginal success and some experiments going on there, but I don't think that's going to be mainstream.
What are your thoughts on different live mediums like Facebook Live, Kickstarter Live, or doing an Instagram Live? Is that going to be a strategy we see more people doing in the future? And have any of your clients done that?
Yeah. So yes, absolutely. So it's going to be something that you definitely going to see a lot more of it. We didn't do it in this case. The founders, they spoke English, but it wasn't the best English. They're based out of Hong Kong. Awesome people, but just it wasn't the right fit for their skill set and where they're at. But yeah, I mean, when you're talking about building a community, it's when people get to see you and know what you're all about, that's what builds trust, right? And then that's a great way to use your bot because you can say, hey, you can just put out a bot broadcast saying, hey, we're going live, Tuesday at blank. And then you just send out another broadcast Tuesday at blank and say, okay, we're live. And just keep it just like that. Mm-hmm. And again, it's going to be an easy way to reach all your subscribers with one click. And it's going to have a high open rate because it's going to be a lot more efficient than email. And when people get to see you and understand that you're an actual person behind this, there's a lot more trust. Because at the end of the day, I mean, you've seen this. You've been in this industry as long as I have. What is it? 30% of projects don't even ship at all. I mean, so there's this stigma now with crowdfunding campaigns because there's been some really bad actors, the tunes of millions of dollars. And a lot of media outlets are even refusing to write about a crowdfunding campaign until it's 100% funded. So, I mean, in the good old days, if you will, of PR with crowdfunding, you just say, hey, I'm running a crowdfunding campaign. Everyone want to talk to you, right? Now it's, come back to you when that thing's 100% funded. And, they want to see $100,000 or more before they're even going to lift up a pen.
Yeah, that's definitely something that's changed. So from those, my final question for you here is, when it comes to the future of Kickstarter, Indiegogo, crowdfunding, what do you see that looking like? Because I definitely have my own thoughts, which I can share, but what do you see that future looking like in terms of how things are going to progress from a marketing standpoint, or just in general with the different sites and creators there?
I think Kickstarter will continue to be, the 800-pound gorilla in the room. Indiegogo is, they're doing some cool things with some partnerships with like Aero Electronics and some of these other folks. So you're going to start seeing a lot more gadgets kind of popping up over on that side. But, for us, we always just, site stack. So we'll do a launch on Kickstarter and then immediately take it over to Indiegogo's in-demand platform. And that's where, if you guys listening aren't familiar, you can basically do another campaign, even though you're already funded on Kickstarter. You go over there and you can continue to accept pre-orders all the way up until the day that you ship.
Awesome. And one other thing I would add there, Kickstarter, I think, is definitely in a maturation phase. I do still see like micro categories growing a lot. So for example, the tabletop game category, that's been growing year over year. And it's been, I think, really impressive just to watch how it's been growing in that way, and more people getting into creating their own tabletops. So we kind of see like within Kickstarter, there's almost this micro ecosystem of the different categories there. Obviously you're dealing more with gadgets and like gizmos and hard products and stuff. But we also see, growth in these different areas. I wrote one blog post, Kickstarter tabletop board game statistics. And in 2017, board games received like 137 million. The year before was like 100 million. So we're seeing lots of growth. I think new strategies are going to definitely come to light as well in ways to sort of reach your backers, get them engaged. But still, there's always that like tried and true, I think, formula behind these different launches.
Yeah. And I mean, once you start getting some of those tabletop creators, I think that is the biggest category on Kickstarter right now. I might be mistaken, but I'm almost positive it is. But once you get a couple of those guys like Exploding Kittens and, a couple, maybe two or three other guys that start collaborating on their next game, we're not going to see $1 million raised. We're going to see tens of millions of dollars raised off of that, because everyone's going to bring in their respective communities. So if that type of collaboration starts happening there, I could see that really kind of start to spread out to the people that are doing hardware, that are doing gadgets, that are doing consumer products, et cetera.
That would be really neat. Eli, thank you so much for coming on the show. I just want to give you an opportunity here to let people know where they can find you if they want to find out more information and learn a little bit about your project. Like with last time, I have a deal where if you guys are interested in Eli's services and you end up signing up, I can give you a free 30-minute coaching call going in depth into your project and answering some of your questions. But where can people go and check you out?
Yeah, you can go to madhatteragency.com and go there. Or, the best way, if you just put like a little link, we have a Google form that you can fill out. I answer those directly. So if you want to talk to me directly, just go ahead and use that form, and then I'll get back with you.
Great. Thank you so much, man. And if you come up with any new findings and revelations on the marketing front, we'd love to have you back.
Excellent, Sal. Thanks again.
Let me tell you about our latest sponsor, SendPro Online by Pitney Bowes. Shipping can be complex. Things can get really confusing really fast. With SendPro Online, it's easy to save time and money no matter what you send, from letters and packages to overnights and flats. You can easily compare USPS, UPS, and FedEx in an all-in-one online tool. You can print shipping labels and stamps directly from your printer. You can even track all of your shipments and get email notifications when they've arrived. SendPro Online is only $14.99 a month, and listeners can get a free 30-day trial when you visit pb.com/crowdcrux. That's pb.com/crowdcrux. Experience the convenience of SendPro Online for yourself when you sign up for a free 30-day trial. Thank you for listening to this episode of the Crowdfunding Demystified podcast. I am your host, Salvador Briggman. On this show, we cover crowdfunding, and I hope that you got some nuggets of gold. I hope you learned something from today's podcast episode that you can take and you can actually apply to your campaign. In addition, if you did not hear it, I am willing to offer a free 30-minute coaching call with me when you sign up for Mad Hatter. So make sure you remind Eli of that if you do sign up under his services. I've had people work with him in the past. I think he's doing some cool work. And I also think this new messenger bot thing could be really interesting. Hopefully get even more people using this in an effective way for their different projects that are out there. In addition, at the beginning of this podcast, I talked a little bit about starting your own podcast. If this is something that you are interested in, even vaguely, in how to start, grow, and monetize your podcast, if it's been sort of going around in your head, thinking about this maybe over a year, or maybe you just kind of had this idea, like, wouldn't it be cool to start a podcast about X, Y, or Z? I urge you, go and check out the link that I am about to mention at crowdcrux.com/free podcasting course. That is crowdcrux.com/free podcasting course, crowdcrux.com/free podcasting course. I think it's kind of cool, like, to learn about something that you're interested in from a teacher that you like. So if you resonate with my teaching style, if you like the way that I sort of break down different topics, that I get into crowdfunding, the way that I've been able to teach that, you will also like some of the stuff that I talk about on this podcasting course. Getting into how do you improve your voice. I approach that from like a very logical perspective. I was not born with a confident voice. I actually sounded really meek, very unsure, very monotone, and no one really wanted to listen to me. I had a lot of feedback in my early days that, this is just not that great. It's kind of hard to listen to past like 5 minutes or 10 minutes. But I've been able to improve my own voice and my authenticity and my comfortability when it comes to speaking in public. In addition, I've learned so much about the podcasting medium and of course, how to actually grow a podcast, because mine has done more than 100,000 downloads, tons of reviews in iTunes, more than 200 episodes that we have produced. I share that and more in this course, how to start, grow, and monetize your podcast. Hope you enjoyed this episode. Go and check out some of the other ones we got out there. My name is Sal, and I will see you next time.